Okay, welcome to everyone here this morning. Thank you for coming. All of our principals, our parents, community members. My name is Dr. Adana Brown. I am Assistant Superintendent of Ed Services. And shortly you will hear from our amazing Superintendent, Dr. Bob Pletka. We want to share with you that we do have interpretation for today. If you do not have headphones and you are present in the audience, please visit our team over here to right for our headsets. We do have interpretation in Spanish and Korean. And if you are joining us via webinar, we want to make sure that you are able to access the translation as well. Spanish is channel 1 and Korean is channel 3 for those of you who are in person. And if you are on the webinar, please click the little globe at the bottom of the screen that says interpretation. And you will be able to have translation in either Korean or Spanish. We are happy to have join us today our assembly members. If you are here in the audience, please wave your hands. Are any assembly members that are present today or representative of assembly members? Okay. Council members, if you are here today, please, or representative of any council members, please wave your hands. And Congress members, we have representatives over here to my right as well. So thank you for being here. School board members, please stand up. We have our school board members here. Thank you for being here. Members of the executive cabinet, our assistant superintendents, please stand. Thank you for being here as well. And all of our community members that are present today and our presenters, thank you so much as well for being here. We'll introduce them and announce them. Your support means so much to our families and our students. Today is such an important day, and we're so grateful that this day was able to happen. I also want to introduce, I would be remiss if I didn't, our amazing Fullerton Police Department members team that is here today. So thank you for being here. They will be presenting as well. We are here to discuss with our families the immigration concerns that we are here to discuss some immigration concerns that our families have in our community, and rightfully so. And we want to make sure that we discuss everyone's rights, make sure that you feel safe and our community feels safe, our students feel safe, and the resources that you need to be successful and for your students to be at ease. This meeting is all about, thank you. This meeting is all about working together to support our families. We are here to listen, learn, and find ways to help and support. Thank you for being a part of this important conversation. And as always, we're so grateful for your participation, for you entrusting your students with us in this Fullerton family. So thank you. And I want to introduce Dr. Bob Pletka to come on up and say a few words.
Good morning, and I just want to welcome everybody here. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules to do that. Shayla, you want me to pause? Okay. One of the most important things I feel as part of my role and my job is to make sure that our families and our students feel safe. In fact, it's the #1 job and the most important job that I have. And that sense of safety starts with you knowing what your rights are and knowing that you have advocates, knowing that we will stand with you and for you as we move forward. 2 things I would like you to know. 1, we don't collect information that we pass on to the feds We don't collect information that's personal as it relates to citizenship, Social Security. We do not collect that. We do not keep that. And even your country of origin, that is another thing that we don't collect. So two things that we need. There are two things that we need. One, we do need to know how old your child is. And there's state law that basically tells us that a child entering first grade or kindergarten, either at 5 years or 6 years. But we do not need your birth certificate. You can provide that, and that's one way to verify. The second way is through an affidavit. And that's basically you just saying that your child is a certain age. The second thing, there's also, you can do baptismal certificates. There's a couple of things that you can do as well. The second thing is we need to know that you live within Fullerton, and that establishes residency here in Fullerton. And there's lots of ways to do that, whether that's an electric bill or there's a variety of ways. So that's the information we need. How old and does your child live within Fullerton? Those are the only two pieces of information that we absolutely need. So one, today is to help you know your rights. The second is for you to know that we're here as advocates to make sure that you feel safe and know that we're here and will support you all the way through. And so I want to say this, if there's ever a time where you feel like what information you're providing feels jarring, makes you feel uncomfortable, I want you to know you can reach out, whether it's to me or my office or Dr. Brown or Dr. Hammond, and we will help clarify, and we will advocate for you. So just to know that you have friends here in Fullerton District, and I hope that you reach out, and I hope if there are problems, concerns, or issues, that you let us know, because we're here to make sure our number one job is that you and your children feel safe. And then our secondary job is that they learn to read, write, do mathematics, science, social studies, and the arts. So, but it starts with your sense of safety and our kids' sense of safety. Happy New Year, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Bob. I also want to make sure I have introduce all of our principals. Principals, please stand. These are people who are definitely boots on the ground, making sure that work happens, ensuring that our students are here and safe every single day. So thank you. Thank you, thank you. And just want to say thank you to our Ed Services team. They have amazing refreshments and coffee and everything in the back. They've been planning. And thank you to Dr. Erlinda Sotero Ruiz for putting all of this together and planning this event. So thank you, Erlinda. Now, I want to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Helene Morris. Come on up.
All right, good morning. Thank you so much for having me and for being here today. I have a little cough drop in my mouth. How many of you got a little bit sick over the break, or your kids got sick, or a few of you? So thank you if you'll just bear with me. So what I'm going to do is talk with you a little bit about what are the practices that we employ in the Fullerton School District? What are the actions that we take to support immigration in our district? First, we have some frequently asked questions. So the question that many parents ask are, will my children or will my child be safe at school? So every school is provided with a school environment that's free from bullying, from intimidation, and discrimination. Every adult on campus focuses on making sure students are treated with a focus on safety, respect for self and others, and a positive approach to behavior, and then correcting those inappropriate behaviors and reteaching those behaviors that maybe are not on target. Will my child receive a quality education? As Dr. Pleck has shared, yes, absolutely. Every child has the right, and the adults at school have the responsibility to ensure that each of our children each and every child receives a high quality education and appropriate learning environment with sufficient resources. And then who can pick up my child from school if you're not able to? That's always a question that comes up. So we encourage every parent, each and every parent, to have multiple individuals listed on their student's emergency card who are authorized to pick up child in case of emergency. So those are just some general questions. Now we're going to get into some more specific things like laws. So AB 699 is a law that protects immigrant students in California. And so AB just stands for Assembly Bill. And so it's legislation that enhances protections for immigrant students in California's public schools. And it requires that districts have policies in place. So this law, AB 699, was passed on July 1st, 2018. So you can see that this is not something that is even a new concern. This is something that has been in effect in a while. So what are some, without going into like pages and pages of law, what are some key things that AB 699 tells us? Well, it prohibits, so it does not allow discrimination based on immigrant status. So that means we enroll all students. It does not matter if a student is a resident born here. It does not matter. We do not discriminate based on that. Schools cannot deny access or opportunities due to immigration status. So our students get all of the opportunities before school, after school, lunches, all the educational opportunities. It restricts the collection of immigration information. We are not allowed to collect, nor do we collect any information about the immigration status. And we're going to talk about that in more depth. Schools cannot collect data on citizenship or immigration status. So whether or not a parent, a student is a citizen, is not a citizen, we do not ask for that. We do not have knowledge of that information. We do not want to know that information. Our passion is for kids. We want to have kids in our schools learning. And the immigration status of our students is not of relevance to us. It is not of importance to us. And if anybody here right now, if you feel scared or fearful or concerned about that, I just want to assure you with my full heart that we do not collect that information. And that is the full truth. And we have the law backing us with that. It requires us, AB 699, to report law enforcement requests, and schools must report immigration enforcement requests to our governing boards. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. We also have our own policies within our Fullerton School District. So we have two of our Board of Trustees here today. And so they help oversee the policies that govern us within a district. So our policy on immigration status is Board Policy 5145.3. So without reading through the policy, what are some, I am going to read through the slide, so bear with me, but what are some key points of our policy within the Fullerton School District? So it's an inclusive environment. So our schools are safe, welcoming spaces for each and every student and family, regardless of immigration and citizenship status. No immigration information collected. So we do not collect or share immigration status info unless it's required by law. And I'm going to talk about that because you're like, wait, if it's required by law, didn't you say we don't collect it? We don't. Equal rights protected. No student shall face discrimination, harassment, or bullying based on immigration status. Parental notifications. Parents, guardians will be informed of rights of free education and protections from immigrant enforcement. So when you're filling out AIR at the beginning of the year, or if you're coming into our district for initial registration, we have our parent handbook. We have all those things that our parents go through and have access to. We have it on our website. Now, I don't pretend that everybody's reading through our website and every single little thing on there all the time, but the information we keep putting out there in different ways, different modes, and different modalities. And then law enforcement requests. We have procedures that will guide any law enforcement requests that were related to immigration purposes. Staff training. We do training for our staff on handling immigration-related requests and protecting student rights. That's something we're even going back to retraining staff, and we've always done like beginning of the year training for all of our staff, especially our staff who are dealing directly with registration, doing that deep dive. And then board reporting, our superintendent must report law enforcement requests while maintaining student privacy and confidentiality. So those are key points of our current board policy that's in place, that policy 5145.3. Okay, FSD communication to families. So I talked about this again. So some of this information is just, I'm saying it again in a different way because I really want to lock it into everybody's brain in here. Oh, am I too loud? Oh, slow down, slow down. I'm fast. I'm trying to show you that this sore throat is not going to get me down. I'm going to talk super fast to really put our interpreters to the test. So we'll take it down a level. Okay, take a breath with me. All right, I'm passionate about this topic. Okay, so we train our staff on how the district will communicate with families and staff about laws and policies related to immigration enforcement in our schools. We also emphasize clear and timely and accurate communication practices for any potential incidents. So you know some of our modalities of communication: Blackboard, email, text messages, if we become aware of any action in the community. And then, so we've talked a lot about what we don't do, but what do we do? So what do we collect when we're enrolling students into the Fullerton School District? So we collect proof of residence and essential enrollment information. So that's just proof that you live where you live. So that could be a utility bill, that could be a lease agreement, that could just be somebody stating that you're renting a room with them. So we collect those things. We don't collect anything that shows whether or not somebody is a citizen, their immigration status. So that goes to our second point. What do we not collect? We don't collect social security numbers, birth certificates. We're fully transitioning to affidavit. We don't collect any kind of legal residency information or any kind of immigration status. So why is it important to collect this information? Documentation for age and birthplace. We do verify the birth date and place of birth because we're required to get what's called a SSID number, but we do not collect information about how a person came to be in the United States. That's not relevant to us at all. So again, anybody's immigration or citizenship status is not collected. We check birth certificates, baptism certificate, or passport to verify the age of our students so we know what grade to place them in. And we have each and every parent complete an affidavit, and we, in lieu of a birth certificate, and place that in our cumulative record. And how do we protect and support our students and families? We are really committed in the Fullerton School District to creating a safe and welcoming environment for all students and families. And here's what we've done to protect and support our community. So we've ensured our compliance with the laws. I've talked to you about the laws at a larger level and then locally within our school board. So we do not share information with immigration authorities. We keep student records private and confidential. We educate all students equally without discrimination. We train all staff to protect families. We provide comprehensive training on protecting the confidentiality of student records under the law. We show clear procedures to prevent unauthorized access to our records, and we reinforce a zero tolerance policy for discrimination. So this is kind of even information for parents, how to protect student privacy. You as a parent can request the removal of any documents or records. So if you know that there's something you provided to the school in your student's cumulative file, and for whatever reason you don't want that, you can just go up to the office and say, I want this removed from my student's record. Birth, no copying requirement. Birth documents will not be copied and kept in the cumulative record. No release of information. No student information is released without a court order. And then what if your child's in an after-school program or before school? FSD, our partners, provide, follow and provide the same guidelines for privacy. And then immigration status confidentiality. Immigration status is only released with a federal magistrate judge's warrant. Now here's kind of the catch, because I said we'd come back to this. So we would only release information with this warrant from the federal magistrate, right? So you're saying, well, wait a second, you're saying that we can release information. How can you release information that you don't collect? So if we don't collect any information about immigration, about citizenship, and we get a warrant from the federal magistrate that they're requesting that information, we are not going to be able to provide that information because we do not collect it. It's just like if somebody came to your house and they were saying, hey, I'm gonna collect recycling. I'm gonna collect, some water bottles and soda cans. If you're like, hey, we're a green family. We, only drink from we don't have any recycling materials. You can't collect what somebody doesn't have. So I want you to feel really safe in that. We don't collect it, so we can't. And then keeping records confidential. Principals and school sites cannot release any information about a child or family's immigration status. Again, we don't collect that information. We don't release that information. Student information records are only released by the district office with a court or subpoena or warrant from a judge. But again, remember, we don't keep those immigration records. You're probably saying, Helene, you're saying the same things over and over again. Yes, saying it again in different ways. I really want to lock that into everybody's brain here. And our staff, they've been trained on how to record sensitive information, confidential and student records. We have this information. I'm sure the slide deck is going to be shared to you in some way. I'm getting a thumbs up from Dr. Ruiz. So parent handbook, it's linked in there. Fact sheet that we have that goes out to all of our parents in English, Spanish, and Korean. And then that concludes what I wanted to share just internally about some of our policies. I'm going to turn it back to Dr. Brown now, who's going to introduce our next presenter.
Thank you, Dr. Morris. She will be around later if you have any questions for her. At this time, I want to introduce two of our captains from the Fullerton Police Department, Dr. Arana. Sorry, giving you guys a doctorate. You want it, you can take it. Captain Arana and Garan. Mix up your names.
Good morning, can everybody hear me? Perfect. Well, first, I'd like to thank you for having us. My name is Pedro Gura. I'm one of our new police captains for Fullerton. This is my partner, Jose Arana. He's in charge of our patrol operations. On behalf of Chief Radis, we are here to dispel any rumors and basically reiterate what everybody else has been saying. So the goal of the Fullerton Police Department is not immigration. That's a federal job. And we are local police officers, obviously at Fullerton. Our job is not to check immigration status on people. Our job is to provide safety, and if you're ever in need of in a traffic accident, or somebody's hurting you, or if you just have questions, we will never ask you your immigration status to respond to those calls for service. So again, I'm just here to reiterate that. On the federal side, they have their obligations, and sometimes we are obligated to help out or assist them. So for example, if you are here and you commit a violent act, a criminal act, and you're here illegally, the feds might be interested in your immigration status. Fullerton Police Department, we are just interested in keeping you safe. So our job is basically just that, is to keep the public safe. And every once in a while on very dangerous, violent acts, we are obligated to cooperate with the federal authorities. But besides that, again, we are here to support the public. And public safety, it's really, really important to build that trust with everyone. And if we're out there doing immigration checks and asking statuses, that would erode our ability to maintain that public trust. So we're constantly out there just to remind everybody, remind our citizens, remind our public that that is not our job. Our job is not to enforce immigration laws and stuff like that. So besides that, it's pretty easy. We are here. We're committed to your safety and your students and your children. And if there's anything that we can do better, please let me know. I'm the new guy, so I will probably be tasked with it. But that's pretty much it. We're just here to, again, make sure that everyone understands that that is not our job. That's not our priority. Our priority is public safety. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And now at this time, moving on along in our agenda, I want to introduce two very involved and amazing parents in our district, but also very active in equity work. Dr. Jody Vallejo, professor at USC and Director of Immigration Services, Bethany Anderson. Come on up.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Dr. Jody Vallejo, and it is such a pleasure to be here today. I am an expert in immigration, and I'm also an expert in how immigrants and their children make it into the middle and upper classes. I've published a lot of research, I've written books, and I also direct a research center, the Equity Research Institute at USC, where we use data and research to power social change. And I just want to thank the school district for having me here today to speak to you. I am also an activist and advocate for immigrants. I work with undocumented students and students who are from mixed status families at USC. And it is such an honor for me to have my daughter in FSD schools. She is in the dual language program at Raymond Elementary. A shout out to our amazing principal, Ms. Centeno, right over here. I just want to thank you, Ms. Centeno, for truly creating an inclusive community at our school where all our students are thriving. Our SSA, Elizabeth, who's also amazing. And thank you also to our board trustees, Vanessa Estrella, Ruthie Hanchett, and Bev Berryman, who's not here today, but who have all really prioritized immigration issues. And of course, Dr. Pletka, where are you? There you are back there. Hi. Thank you so much for everything you said this morning about keeping our schools safe. One of the most important things that my research shows in how children, the children of immigrants, make it into the middle class is the significant impact that schools have on mobility. It's not just what happens amongst the individual, it's the structures in our society that support people, that help people enter into the middle and upper classes. It's schools like we have here in FSD, and it takes leaders to implement the kinds of policies and supports that our schools have. So I really appreciate you, Dr. Pletka, and of course, all of you parents who are raising up the next generation. So I want to talk today a little bit about the larger context of immigration, give you some perspectives on that, and then how it might affect us here at the local level. Many people are very afraid. Many people are concerned. There's a lot of anxiety. As a parent, you might be experiencing anxiety about immigration issues that can affect your children. Maybe someone in your family is undocumented, maybe you yourself are undocumented, maybe you can't travel to see your parents or your family members. You worry about what's going to happen to your children at school. Most important, I want to reiterate this, and I'll say this at the end, but schools are a safe place for our children. Schools are safe. There's a number of laws at the federal level, the state level, and the local level that are helping to keep our schools safe. And Dr. Morris has already talked to you about some of those laws, especially the state of California, which we expect will lead the resistance against the Trump administration's policies regarding immigration yet again, like California did in 2016. So I want to talk a little bit about immigrant families today. The majority of undocumented immigrants who currently live in the United States have been in the US 10 years or longer. Undocumented immigrants in the US are not people that are recently arrived. What does this mean? Well, it means that undocumented people are full members of our society. People who are undocumented are our neighbors, our family members, our friends. They work with us. They are full members of our society. And it's why so many of us work so hard to make sure that undocumented people have the protections and the rights that undocumented people deserve, as well as their families. It's also really important to understand that 1 in 5 children under the age of 18 in California live in mixed status families. A mixed status family is when you might have a child who is an American citizen, a parent who might be undocumented, or somebody who has DACA or TPS, temporary protected status. There's a variety of statuses that people can have. And this can cause a lot of fear and anxiety and worry about what's happening in the level of immigration. If we bring it down just to Orange County, 15% of people in Orange County live in a mixed status family. They're undocumented or live with an undocumented family member. It's almost 300,000 people in Orange County. And 73% of the undocumented in Orange County are Latino, 22% are Asian. And also defying the stereotype of undocumented people, the fastest growing proportion of undocumented people in the US are Asian Americans. It's not Latinos, it's Asians. And so this is something that is really contradicts the stereotypes that a lot of people have about who undocumented people are. When we think about what's going to happen in these next 4 years, we don't know what's going to happen. We can't predict that. It's why we are putting laws and policies and practices into place now. But we do know that there will be policy actions starting on January 20th. That is the day of the inauguration. Trump has said he will start writing a slew of executive orders around immigration. We might see things that we saw in 2016, like a Muslim ban. We expect that there will be other executive actions that he will take. I want to say that, Trump has made a lot of promises about detentions and deportations. There will be raids. There will be raids on workplaces in particular, but they will be few and far between because Trump doesn't have the infrastructure and resources to keep the promises that he has made to his constituents. And the point of the raids, the point of the policies is to really create fear in the community. It is a politics of fear. It is a politics of cruelty. And so we really have to be careful and understand how this, for staff, how these policies are affecting our families and the children in our schools, and also how they are affecting ourselves and our own mental health. The administration does not have the resources to engage in mass deportation. He does not have the resources. The other issue is that the majority of removals come from the US-Mexico border, not from inside the country. Schools like elementary, high schools, colleges remain safe spaces to send your children and for you as families to seek resources. So even amongst the fear, even amongst the anxiety and the worry, schools remain one of the safest places. And I want to talk about why this is. So as our police officers said, who are in the back, the federal level is what controls who gets in to America in terms of visas or in terms of who is eligible for TPS or who is eligible for asylum. The federal level also, as our police captain said, is in charge of enforcement. So it is the US government, the federal level, that is in charge of ICE and that is in charge of the Border Patrol, detentions and deportations. The federal government, though, has what is called an MOU, or a memorandum of understanding, where they direct ICE not to go into sensitive locations. So one of the things that I hear from people is, what happens if ICE goes into our schools? Well, the federal government has a memorandum where they say ICE should not engage in any enforcement activities in schools, in churches, in courthouses, in hospitals, places that they consider sensitive locations. And they have generally followed that memorandum of understanding. The other really important thing that you need to know at the federal level is that undocumented children and the children of undocumented parents have a federal right to a free public education. So that cannot be taken away at this time from any of our students, because that is based on a Supreme Court decision in 1982, Plyer versus Doe. So that is a federal right. And it's really important that we understand what happens at this larger level of government, because what this means is it leaves a lot up to the states like California or Texas or Arizona. The federal government governs who gets into the US, but it's the states that really govern how people are treated once they're here. You can have states that are very supportive of immigrants, like California, or you can have states that make policies that are very hostile towards immigrants, states like Alabama, for example. And so when we think about the state level, at the state level are laws and rights about how immigrants are treated in schools or in institutions. It is all of the laws that Dr. Morris talked about earlier and that Dr. Pletka talked about that require us to keep your information safe and private in the state of California. Not all states have these same kinds of laws. California is known as a very welcoming state to immigrants. Just to give you an example, undocumented immigrants in California can get driver's licenses. All income eligible immigrants in California have access to Medi-Cal, regardless of your status. There are policies that help undocumented youth go to school via the California Dream Act, go attain higher education. California is also a sanctuary state. It is a California law that police do not act as immigration agents in their daily patrols and actions. Our current Attorney General, just this Tuesday, oh God, was that only yesterday? No, it was Monday. He released guidelines for 2025, reiterating that undocumented children in the state of California have the right to free public education and privacy, and also reiterated that schools do not collaborate with ICE. Now, there's some worries because Trump has said he will reverse that MOU about sensitive locations for ICE. There's a little bit of worries about this, but California is already looking ahead. California, our assembly members and our California senators have introduced 2 bills that would prevent ICE from coming into schools if Trump reverses that MOU about sensitive locations. So there's going to be a lot of hype about this. There's going to be a lot of hype in Spanish language media. I watch it. There's going to be a lot of hype in the news about Trump reversing that MOU on sensitive locations. But the state of California has already got our backs on that, and I expect that these will pass. And so if you hear that out in the community, please let people know that our senators and assembly members in California are already looking ahead for that. So it's the state level laws that really affect how our children, how we are treated in the state, but it is the local level where people are on the front lines. It is in our schools, it is in our communities, on our soccer fields, in our city governments, where people are dealing with the fears, the worry of both federal and state level laws. And so the local level becomes extremely important. And the local level is where you get the resources and the help that you need that are provided by cities and organizations and institutions. We're going to talk about a little bit of those later today, but this is where we have resources that revolve around community empowerment, OC United, Radiant Futures, Pathways of Hope, all of these things that our school is connected to. This is where legal aid organizations come in, like Camino, where my colleague Bethany Anderson is going to speak to you about your legal rights and how to protect yourselves now. Advocacy groups that work on behalf of immigrants in terms of trying to make policy change. And of course, you have FSD. Remember, your information is private or not collected at all. FSD does not collaborate with immigration officials. And again, California is creating more laws to make sure that this is enshrined in our state constitution. FSD, we also have our community schools center where you can receive a lot of these resources and help that you need. And of course, FSD is amazing in making sure that our children and our families have access to mental health resources. As an expert on these issues, I'm really concerned about our kids because sometimes kids hear things at school. Sometimes they're hearing things that are happening with their parents. And FSD actually has people that have expertise in counseling that have worked with families facing immigration issues. This is really amazing because not every school district has these kinds of resources with people who have this kind of cultural competency. So the local level resources are where you're going to go to get everything you need to fulfill the promise of keeping California a welcoming state for immigrants. And lastly, I just want to say that there is a lot of uncertainty, but people in our schools, our community, and our state government are thinking ahead. So that even if things change at the federal level, and again, you're going to hear a lot about promises that someone is going to make about making things very bad or precarious for immigrants. Even if things change, there's a lot of people working to make sure that California stays a safe place. Your rights, regardless of immigration status, the social protections, medical assistance, education, all of these things are federal and state level rights that cannot be taken from you. Federal immigration enforcement plays no role in our city and government. ICE agents are not going to be at City Hall. The police, our police captains have already talked to you. They do not act as immigration agents. Police cannot ask about your immigration status. It is really important that our immigrant communities continue to trust our police force. Also, let me give you another little tidbit that's backed up by tons of research. Did anybody here know that undocumented communities, the higher proportion of undocumented people in a community, the safer that community actually is? That completely contradicts the stereotypes that people have about immigrant communities. And schools remain safe, connect you to FSD resources for mental health, community and state resources for legal, financial assistance, housing assistance, medical assistance, everything that you need. And I really encourage you, if you have questions, you can always reach out to me or email me and to talk to your principals, talk to your SSAs about what it is that you're hearing in the community and what it is that you need. I'm gonna hand it over to my colleague, Bethany Anderson, who runs Camino Immigration Services.
Thank you so much, Jody. My name is Bethany Anderson, and I am the Director of Camino Immigration Services. We are a nonprofit in the city of Placentia and Fullerton. We provide direct legal services to the immigrant community. Almost all of our services are free or very low cost. It's specifically for low and middle income families that are residents of California. We provide a number of services very similar to a private law office, like family petitions, DACA renewals, naturalizations, U visas, VAWA applications and adjustments of status. These are just different benefits that people might be eligible for that we help you determine your eligibility and then represent you in front of immigration to apply for those benefits. We have partnered with Raymond, which is where my kids go, to present some information to our DELAC communities. And so if that's something that you're interested in or having more information about our services, I've got some information here for you to take home or to share with your community. So what I want to talk about today very briefly is just how we can prepare as a community and as families for the incoming administration. I want you all to know that we've been here before, you know that, and we've learned, and we are prepared. We're ready to advocate, to stand between you and anything that attempts to bulldoze or separate or destroy your family. There are a lot of people that care deeply about the immigrant community, specifically in Fullerton, in our schools, and there are many of us that are ready to advocate and to engage and to walk alongside your families, whatever may come in the next several years. So something that's really important in the immigrant community is avoiding becoming a victim of fraud. So this is unfortunately something that happens way too often. I see it in my office almost weekly, sometimes daily, of folks coming in saying, I paid someone thousands of dollars and now I don't know what happened. I don't know if anything was filed, or sometimes worse, I have this notice saying that I need to go see a judge. I'm in removal proceedings. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people, especially in a time of crisis, that are ready to pounce and just take advantage of the fear in the community or the fear that maybe some immigrants are experiencing right now. And so really, I want, if anything that you take away from my information that I'm sharing, is just to be equipped and prepared to not fall prey to fraud, okay? So the only people in the United States that are authorized to practice immigration law, to give legal advice, to represent you in front of immigration are licensed attorneys or DOJ accredited representatives that work for a nonprofit. That's very important. Okay, so we have licensed attorneys. Everyone knows, what that means. A DOJ accredited rep is someone that is authorized by the federal government to practice immigration law as a service to the community through a nonprofit. So notarios, does anybody know what a notario is? Yes. They are not authorized to give legal advice or to practice immigration law in any way. Please do not use a notario. I don't care if your tia got her green card through a notario. I do not care. Do not use notarios, okay? I have seen too many people in my office who have completely had their lives turned upside down financially and even within the immigration system because of the work of a notario. There are several DOJ recognized nonprofit organizations in Orange County that have state funding to provide free legal services. And these are trustworthy organizations that have gone through the whole process to become recognized by the federal government to practice immigration law. There is no reason to pay someone a lot of money for legal consult or representation. We have so many resources, especially in Orange County, that provide legal services for free or for very, very low cost. My organization, along with a slew of other organizations in the county, have the same funding. And so we are not allowed to charge our clients if they meet certain income requirements and are residents of California. So even no knock on private attorneys, they do great work. But even if it's not something that's in court, there is no reason to pay anything for any consultation or legal services if you live in Orange County. That is how much we have as far as resources for legal services, okay? And I shared at the end, we have some of those organizations, including mine, that provide those services. So how do we prepare? Here are just a few things that I think that you can do If you are a family that has anyone in your family that is documented or not a naturalized citizen, that you can do to prepare, okay? Get a legal consultation. Like I said, access to free legal consultations are all over the county. You might have to wait a couple of weeks, but it's there and it's available for you. Especially if you have immediate relatives that are US citizens. Immediate relative would be a spouse or a child that is at 21 or older, okay? So if you have that familial relationship, please get a legal consultation to see if you're eligible to be petitioned by that family member. If you were or are a victim of violent crime or domestic violence, please get a legal consultation. A lot of our organizations, like mine, and we're trained to work specifically with those that are suffering or have suffered through violent crimes or domestic violence, how to advocate, get you the resources that you need, and also how that might unlock some immigration benefits for you. Also, if you are a legal permanent resident and you have been for a number of years, please get a consultation to see if you're eligible to naturalize. This will just secure up your status and might also help you to be able to help some of your family members, okay? So if you are an LPR, that means someone that has a green card, or someone that you know has a green card, have them get a consultation to see if they might be eligible for naturalization. The next thing is get passports, okay? This get passports for yourself and for your children. If your children are US citizens, it's important that you get their passports now. I am really hesitant to talk about worst case scenarios because I don't want to, add to the fear and anxiety that so many in our community are experiencing. However, I do want us to be prepared for the worst case scenario, just in case, right? And being prepared might actually help to kind of settle some of that anxiety. So in a situation, worst case scenario that, like I said, we're all fighting really hard to prevent, a parent ends up deported. Well, if that parent is not here, it makes it very difficult to get children that are US citizens their passports to then be able to go visit that family member or that parent that has been deported. So if you are here now, get the passports for your children now so that you have those available in case of an emergency. You yourself should also get a passport. Depending on your country of origin, we have lots of embassies and consulates from other countries here in Southern California that will help you get your passport if you don't already have that. That just makes traveling, even within the country, a lot easier. So I highly recommend that you make sure everyone in your family has their passports. Make a written plan for your children in case of an emergency. And this just isn't for deportation. This is just in any, real life emergency. We all know not to gender stereotype, but everything is here for a mom, right? We know everything. We know the time that our children need to take their medication. We know their doctor's information. We know their schedules. We know everything that they need, their allergies, right? It's all up here. And so it's really important that we have that written down somewhere for a trusted partner or comadre to have access to that, to be able to care for our children in case we're not able to. So I have a whole worksheet that you can work through to just collect all of the important information, helps you to think through all of that information. We're going to have that available at the schools through your principal, through your office. So if that's something that you need, reach out to your local school that your child goes to, and you should be able to access it there. Or you can come find me after and I can share that resource with you as well. But have a plan, okay? And again, not just in the worst case scenario of a deportation, but if you're in the hospital for a couple of weeks or, something happens that you have to be separated from your children, knowing that someone else has all the information that we store up here will help, not only to care for your children, but will help you in your own anxiety. The last thing, don't panic. Don't panic. Don't believe everything you hear in the media, okay? Like others have already said, the media likes to sensationalize what's going on, and you're going to hear little bits and pieces of what is actually truth. And what we have learned in the previous time this administration was in control, is that there's a lot of talk, and then it takes a really long time for it to actually trickle down to have impact on our streets. And by the time it gets there, we're prepared, we're ready to fight, we're ready to fight it in the courts, we're ready, we know how to protect. So we don't need to get to level 10. This is the worst case. We don't need to live like that. It's not good for ourselves, and it's not good for our children. And I understand. I stand up here with the privilege of a white American telling you that. But out of the deep love in my heart, please, please, please take care of yourselves. Okay, we have mental health resources. If you're feeling an extreme amount of panic or anxiety, I understand. I'm not trying to diminish that reality, but please get support from the number of community resources that we have to just help you talk through and deal with that panic and that anxiety. But make sure that you get your information from trustworthy sources. Our school district is a trustworthy source. Any resource that they shared has been vetted, and it should be very, very trustworthy. Our office, if you have questions about your own situation or something that you've heard in the news, we field calls like that all day long. Happy to help in that way as well. So you can always just give our office a call. And very briefly, it is really important that we all know our rights. Every person living in the United States, regardless of their immigration status, has constitutional rights. You have the right to refuse to have your person, vehicle, or home searched if there is no order signed by a judge that is shown to you. So if you are walking down the street, you're going to the grocery store, and an ICE agent says, hey, you look like you might be an immigrant, come here. You do not have to engage unless they show you a warrant with your name on it, signed by a judge. They have no authority to detain you or to stop you or to search you. You have the right to remove yourself from that situation. You also have the right to not allow ICE agents into your home. So this is also, kind of an important thing. It's in the family preparedness packet that I have available for those that would like it. Talks about this, but having conversations with your children about not opening the door when someone knocks on the door. And that there's some kind of protocol within your family, especially if someone in your family is undocumented, especially if someone in your family has been in removal proceedings or has a removal order, that everyone in the house knows. Someone knocks on the door, we look through the window first, we look through the peephole first, and determine if it's someone that we know. And if it looks like an officer, we do not need to open the door. It is our right to not open the door. They must present a warrant signed by a judge with the name of someone that is currently currently present inside that home in order for you to legally have to open the door. Okay, does that make sense? So you all have a right, all of us have a right to that level of protection. However, never lie to an officer or ICE agent or present false documents. Instead, you have the right to remain silent. If you are stopped or detained, you have the right to say, and you must say it, I would like to remain silent, or I would like to not answer that question. And in solidarity, there's a lot of people that are US citizens that practice that as well, in solidarity with our immigrant community. So you do have the right. It can feel very intimidating if you are stopped by a federal agent or an ICE agent. We have these little resources, these little cards that you can stick in your car or in your wallet. And they basically, we have them in English, Spanish, and Korean. And it has a message that you can hand if you're not speaking, if you don't speak the language of the ICE agent, that asserts your right to remain silent. And then it has just a little crash course of what your rights are in your native tongue, Spanish, English, or Korean on the back. And so we have these available for you today. So grab one, keep it in your wallet, grab a few, and you can hand them out to your friends. But this is a great little resource just to have on you. Again, just in case of worst case scenario. Again, we're doing everything to prevent worst case scenario, but it's better to be prepared. If you are arrested or detained, you have the right to an attorney. So ask for one immediately. Something really important is that do not make your first phone call if you're detained by immigration. Don't make that first phone call to an attorney, okay? Make it to a family member who then can get in touch with legal representation. The reason is that I'm a human being, just, you know, attorneys are human beings. I am not always answering my phone. I'm not always at the office. And so, you know, if someone's gonna call my office looking for legal services and they call at 5 a.m., which is when a lot of ICE activity happens, nobody's gonna be there to answer the phone. So please do not call DOJ accredited reps or attorneys. Call a family member who then has the ability to track down legal representation for you, okay? I think that is it for my part. I will be here after. Again, I have resources specifically for my organization up in a few minutes. You'll see some other legal service providers as well that are trustworthy in Orange County. Come get my card and any of the resources that I've discussed. Be happy to share that with you. So thank you for being here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Bethany, and thank you, Jody, so much. Now for our final speaker, we want to bring up OC United, Noemi Tovar.
Hi, good morning. My name is Noemi Tovar. I am the Community Resources Coordinator for OC United. My partner, Gabby Garcia, was supposed to be here. She couldn't be here this morning, but I'm very glad to be here and to be able to tell you more about the resources that OC United offers. So I am very glad that there are so many organizations in the city of Fullerton that really just want to come alongside you and help you. OC United is one of them, and it's amazing. So growing up as an immigrant daughter growing up as a daughter to immigrant parents, my parents grew up with a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety. And the first thing that parents do is they isolate, they seclude. There's so much fear, you don't really know what to expect. You hear a lot of hype in the media, as many of the speakers have shared, and it's scary. So what do you do when you really don't know your rights? What do you do when you really don't know what's going to happen? You stay at home and you're by yourself and you're on your own. Part of what we want to do is that we want to help you come out of that isolation. We want to help connect you with community, with other people that are experiencing the same thing that you are. And not just yourselves, but even ourselves. We want to educate ourselves so that we can best serve our community, our families, our children as well. Because fear goes from the youngest to the oldest. You have a lot of rights, as you've heard other speakers say, and you have the right to also be in this country. So we want to help you by equipping you and also transforming that fear from an I don't know or I should have known to I know my rights. I know what I deserve to have, and I know how to proceed. And if you don't, we want to walk alongside you and bring you the resources that are free to you, that are accessible, that are in your language, and that you have the right to know. So OC United is the place where compassion meets action for lasting change. We want to connect people to healing communities and equip them with the skills necessary for lasting transformation. The city of Fullerton, the schools, other organizations, churches, we are healing communities, hospital resources. We are healing communities. We want to help our families come together and say, you're not alone. At OC United, as well, all the personal information remains confidential and no information will be released without a court order. So if there is anything with children, it will not be released without a court order. Part of what we want to do is also bring awareness to our community members. And how we do that is that we encourage our community to make smart choices when out in public. When there's a lot of stressors at home, we don't necessarily make the best informed decisions. And again, sometimes we make decisions out of lack of knowledge, out of anxiety, out of trying to just find and make a way right then and there. And it's merited. It is merited, but sometimes it might not be the best choice. So making smart choices also keeps us away from being a target, either from the police or just getting in trouble. We want to make sure that we want to keep a clean record, and that's not just for families that aren't undocumented, but also families, our citizens. You want to keep a clean record. If you're seeking legal advice, make sure that it is someone you can trust or who was referred to you by a trusted organization. Just as Bethany has shared, please don't go to a notario. My family was a victim to that, and it didn't work out well. Ask for help if needed. You are not alone. You have a lot of people that are here to help and want to help you. And if we don't know how to help, we will find someone that will help you. If you are afraid, please do not isolate. Don't isolate yourself. Don't isolate your family. FSD and OC United and many other organizations, we care deeply for you and your family, and we are here to help. There's help at schools for children. And sometimes for parents, it's hard to understand, or we don't know how to communicate it properly to children. There are ways to tell children just at their age appropriate level. And if you don't know, there are resources at schools where they can help you. There are some of our elderly parents who don't necessarily know either. There are organizations that want to help. Just communicate all awareness too. So resources, I'm going to focus on our Gilbert Community Center. Resources that we have and that we offer is that we offer after-school programming for high school students. With our high school students, any and all of the high schools in the city of Fullerton and even in Placentia are welcome to come and join. It is available from Monday, Wednesday, Fridays after school from 6 p.m. We do have support groups. As I mentioned before, you are not alone. And one way to come out of isolation is to find a supporting community. Those who speak your same language, those who are going through the same as yourselves. It is the best thing to do to find somebody else and say, oh my God, I'm going through the same thing. I had no idea. I thought it was just me. It's not just you. It's not just you. There's so many people going, not just through immigration. Not that they don't have just immigration questions, but it's also health. It's also domestic violence. We have a domestic violence and sexual assault support groups in Spanish on Thursdays at 10 a.m. We have ESL classes. Knowledge is power. You don't know English? That's okay. Come and learn. It's free. We want to offer, and not just at Gilbert. There are many other locations that offer ESL classes for free. Come and learn. If you have a hard time, don't worry about it. The best step is to take the first step forward. We have health and wellness class. This is specifically geared for our community who is experiencing diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol. You're not alone. There's a lot of people out there. We want to break the shame barrier. We want to help you and we want to grow with you as well. Money has been really tight. We've brought in food distribution programs at Gilbert. And so we have on Fridays. There's also many food distribution programs at schools. Every single elementary school, I believe, has a food distribution program. Just get in contact with your school. There are many organizations in Fullerton that do that. And we also have workshops helping with regards to parenting, understanding trauma, community leadership, and supporting the elderly. It is very hard to do life on our own. We do not want you to do that. So find, if not us, find another organization near where you live, connect with your local school. Find somebody that works for you that will help you. We are here and we want to also walk alongside you. Thank you very much.
Okay, so the next two slides I want to share with you are immigration legal resources and also immigration advocacy, how you can get involved. So this first slide, for our people joining us at home via webinar and in person, there are 4 different areas of service, 1 in Placentia, 2 in Santa Ana, and 1 in Garden Grove. As you see, the websites here are live links, and their phone numbers are listed. This will be on our website, our district website. So if you go to Fullerton schooldistrict.org and click the parent tab under immigration services, you will be able to find today's presentation, as well as this slide and the live links. The next slide is how you, as a community member or parent, can get involved with immigration advocacy and share these resources. So there is CLUE, Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice, Friends of Orange County Detainees, Resilience OC, and OC Rapid Response. So just to caveat, FSD Community Schools program can support you and your family with housing, clothing, signing up for food, medical, vision services, mental health supports, and more. Parents are welcome to drop into our community schools office at Nicholas Junior High, where you will see our amazing, always smiling Jenny Saul and her team. And you can reach out to your school SSA as well.